Blog Talk Radio.
Call. To conference.
Hello?
Eleanor, it's Michael calling about Community Way and community currencies. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for calling.
In a hurry, I guess. Yeah, we'll make this quick because you've got your kid and I've got other things, and I have 4 quick questions, and maybe there are more, but let's just rattle at them right away, shall we?
Yeah.
You asked.
I actually don't have them in front of me. You have them?
Yes, I do. The first one was about the cost of printing bills. The second was about the issue of the Natural Food Co-op and its sort of dominance in the community, and how does that work for a non-profit that's central to the issue already. Your third question was about the level of donation that we recommend for a Community Way initiative. And the fourth was about administrative recovery. How do administrators stay alive and happy, i.e. get paid? So, 1, 2, 3, 4?
Great.
Number 1, how much does it cost to print? Well, that's rather like how long is a piece of string, because you can spend an awful lot of time and energy on a very, very beautiful, highly secure, cryptographically, holographically, whatever bill. And you can do it with, something like an old checkbook. You can take old checkbooks and you can black mark across the top and rewrite Cortes money, and those checkbooks would work inside a community. Of course, that would mean that you were also running the software for the accounting. So it's like a mini credit union in your community with a mini checkbook. And that's the cheapest way to do it by far. But between one end and the other, all sorts of levels. However, we managed to create about $250,000 worth of printable money, so many 20s, so many 10s, 5s, and 1s, for about I'd say an all-up cost of about $3,000, shall we say. So we could create the sort of level that would be necessary for a community of 60,000 with a projected 1-year inventory of paper bills for about $3,000. So
projected 1-year inventory. Do you mean in another year you'll have to print the same amount? I don't understand.
Yeah, we'd expect there to be wastage, to be loss, to be deterioration. We'd expect there to be an increase in the need for liquidity in the community. More importantly, we'd expect it to shift, however, onto a form of electronic payment, something like a touch-and-go card like the transit systems. Very, very simple model, and once we've got it together, very cheap indeed and very flexible. So we horizon our thinking about a year ahead. We don't try and plan paper for 5 years. We've got enough for the first year, and it cost us $3,000. It could be done a lot cheaper, though. You could do that for probably half that price.
Okay, sounds reasonable.
Open question, really. It's how much, where do you want to put the effort and how do you want it to look? And there are benefits upside on making it look very good, but there are costs. And it's not really a dominant factor. The dominant factor is the second question about something like a major employer or major entity in your community that's central to it and only trades with it. A food co-op, perfect example. Now, Yes, they're operating at bare margins. They're a non-profit. They're only making enough to sort of pay the bills and pay the staff. And
they're not a registered nonprofit or anything.
No, they'd be a standard business in business.
Yeah.
And they're only in business as long as they make enough to pay the rent and pay the staff and all the costs of running the operation. And the question they've got to look at is that whether their dependence upon the cash flow is dominating their business strategies, or whether they can see the advantage of adding in another layer of economy that is the Cortes money. Now, it's not about impinging heavily, although there would be some impingement on their cash income at the moment. Obviously, a lot of people on Cortes use the co-op. And if everybody joined the Cortes money in 10 minutes and they all insisted on, say, doing 15% at the co-op, that might make the co-op's life a little difficult. But it won't be that way. For a start, only a small proportion of Cortes residents would get started, and only a small proportion would start to use the money in a powerful way. So if the co-op went 15%, 20% perhaps, on a trial basis with something like a monthly limit, we only do it to the acceptance of, say, $5,000 a month. Whatever they felt they could easily manage and discharge as a supplement to their business. Additional services, deliveries, different forms of, say, advertising or simply community support. There's no reason why the co-op can't be a significant donor in the community as well. So our basic answer to can a big organization which is thoroughly embedded and only has its market in Cortes do this is emphatically yes. Very important for all concerned that they take that seriously and give it a good look. It's curious, the old company town model, all my soul to the company store, 16 tons, another day older, deeper in debt. Those were about mining towns, resource towns, mining in southwest England and Cornwall. Hey,
Michael, can you hold on 1 second?
Of course I can.
Hold on.
So we're attending to household matters briefly. Eleanor's grandchild, Kim, is very patiently tolerating all this chatter, but we're about halfway through. Oh, dear. Maybe I'll just...
I'm sorry.
No, not at all. Maybe I'll just carry on. And why don't you just go with it, and I'll lecture to the microphone. You look after Kim.
Okay.
And I'll be done
go for it.
Whenever you come back or whatever. Okay?
Okay, great.
Sorry. Bye now. Okay, normal service resumed. Talking about the company town aspect, the embedded entity, and how the embargo on payment in scrip by the company, the demand for payment and legal tender as human right of employment, was based upon the abuse that these single entity town stores used to visit on the captive audience of their employees. So the Truck Acts in Britain outlawed payment in truck, in quasi-barter by the company. And you had to pay people in legal tender. Well, that's one way of looking at that is that, yeah, legal tender is the stuff that works. The other way to say it is, obviously, there's no problem with a large entity like a food co-op participating in a community currency. It will not do them any damage. The issue is, how should they participate in it to do best benefit to themselves and to the community? And that means returning to the concept of service. A co-op based on these principles is clearly there for service. It's not there to make a profit. It's not there to make a living for its people. It's definitely there because it makes a living for its people. So staff have got to be paid, cash flows have got to be maintained. But you need to take a look at what happens when you recognize that as an entity in the community, you have expenditures in the community and you have earnings in the community. And can you move some of that? Can you additionally take part in that with the community currency? And the answer is flatly, you betcha. There's absolutely nothing in the way apart from imagination and a little bit of trepidation. Got to handle that, find out how to do it, and do it. That would be my flat answer to the co-op. And any co-op. Oh, back again. Well done.
Oh.
I think that's enough on that one, obviously, because it's a huge tarball of analysis and cost accounting and whatever, and there will be lots of detail to be considered, but the flat answer is absolutely yes. It can do, it should do. I hope it does. Number 3, you asked about a business on the margin, just breaking even. Does it still make sense to circulate $1,000 of community money per employee, to donate that much, to pump the prime the pump that much? And the answer to that is yes, emphatically so, and because of that problem. If a business isn't really realizing the revenues to be thriving, but it's getting through from month to month and barely meeting bills and hardly paying its owners, its staff properly, certainly doing no expansion, no extension, no upkeep, no maintenance, no research and development. You know, if it's not able to do those, not able to carry advertising costs and so on and so forth, then yes, get that money out there, because the $1,000 per employee you put out there is a new layer of the economy tied to your business context in that community. And it's very different from pumping out 1,000 cash. It's gone. But you pump out 1,000 community, and that is percolating, and it can only be spent in businesses like yours, etc. So why not? If you think, for instance, how much cash there is in Cortes to support the cash turnover of the average business, well, a business shouldn't be in business unless it's seeing at least $50,000 in sort of attributable turnover per employee. Because an employee costs, and there's insurance, and there's premises, and all this, that, and the other. So unless you're turning over $50,000 in cash per employee, i.e. about $1,000 a week, you shouldn't have the employee. Sorry about that. Can't afford them.
Per full-time employee? Or?
Yeah, I'm just talking about the conditions of business in Canada. Yeah. If you're in Medicine Hat and you've got 14 staff in your restaurant, you'd better be earning about $50,000 per staff member every year to pay their wages, their benefits, their overheads, the printing costs, and your own salary. So if you're earning less than that, no good. So if you look at the turnover in conventional money for the average employee in the average business, it's about $1,000 a week. Now, we're talking about putting 1,000 community Cortes dollars into circulation. It may take a year for the average business to filter that back through. So it'd be about 2% of their ongoing activity per employee. The $1,000 is actually a low level of injection. It's set purposely conservatively because we don't want businesses to suddenly see a golden cornucopia of opportunity and jump headlong into it at imbalance to the more conservative elements in the economy. Most businesses will find 1,000, a risky proposition, which it is not. But we certainly don't want a bunch of them going out at $10,000 per employee, which would be a risky level of injection for the economy, for the community, and for that business. So we say 1,000 is a good number. It's negotiable in various ways, obviously. And if you're a half-time basement working backyard guy, then maybe 500's plenty, and maybe do it in batches of 100 every month for 6 months or something. So all sorts of varieties, but don't be afraid of injecting the money. The issue is not that 1,000 is too much. The issue is you don't want to go to 10,000, not yet.
Yeah, so that's not risky. And are there other similar businesses to the co-op grocers that are using the money in innovative ways, since they can't buy product off island with it? Are they maybe supplementing wages with it, or are they giving it as change to people who are paying for things with them? That's
one of the things that's most valuable. It's the idea of a business giving change. You see, the most valuable thing about a community currency isn't the single transaction here, or I just made enough on this transaction to go to the next world or whatever the next day. It's about the persistence of an economy that is based in the community and is based in the community's self-integration and interaction. standalone money created by it moving. Now, the way we create that is by recognizing it and acknowledging it. So the co-op says, we believe in this money. We take it, we give it. We spend it, we earn it. We support our employees with bonuses. We undertake renovations in it. We source local productivity. We encourage local community action with the community dollar. We respect it. So yes, we offer it to you in change. Because the more people in Cortes who are using it, and the more it circulates, and the more businesses use it, the better the island economy is going to be. So we recognize it, we empower it, and we offer it in change. Now, tourists coming through the island might say, just a minute, I don't want this. I'm going back to Campbell River or wherever. And that's fine, of course. Cash is cash. Change on the 20 is $15. Give me cash, please. But if they take the 15 local, be they tourists or local people or another business, then that's just great because it's kept cash flow in my business, which, damn it, we all need. And I've supported the local community process by encouraging this recirculation. So change for change it's our next agenda in the Comox Valley. We're opening a change for change model for the businesses to encourage the distribution of the money.
Has anyone tried it?
It's been tried all over the world. Every community currency wants to give change. So there's no problem with that. It's a question of is it done balanced by the commitment of every business to accept the money. The difficulty can often be that a business saying, look, I've got good money and I've got this soft local stuff. And if they behave as though there's good money and soft local stuff, then they're making it worth less. And if they're making it worth less, then it is unethical for them to offer it in change. It's unethical for them to be, deeply engaged in the system. They should be superficially engaged at the best. Take it and spend it, but don't make any commitment, because this is a money of commitment. And if the business doesn't commit to it, doesn't back it, doesn't respect it, doesn't honor it, well, okay, you can use it, but you're not underwriting it. You're just riding on the bandwagon. So I would recommend the co-op gets in, and I'd recommend the co-op supports this as a core community development project.
I pretty much don't. I don't think it'll fly without them getting involved.
It'll be a hell of a difference. It'll be night and day. If the co-op gets involved and takes it seriously, Cortes flies. If it doesn't, then Cortes will lurch around like an overcooked goose trying to get off the water for a while. Yeah.
I mean, they already are very interested in the idea. So.
They're obviously they're community-minded people doing community-minded action. So how can you enhance community with community money? There's got to be a way, and there are hundreds. So I look forward to the to the progress. Your fourth question: how are administrators to be supported? And the answer is that in the community way model, the administration locally should adopt the position of we're supporting a community fundraising model as a demonstration of how this free community platform works, because the community platform is essentially free, as you will find out as you do it. It costs nothing to run, really. It costs a bit to develop, which is why administrators need to be active and need to be supported. Now, if they say, we are charging you to join into our money system, that's a definite bummer. That's not to be done. It's sort of fencing off the commons. It's enclosing territory, and it sets up the wrong relationships and strategies, and it's just fundamentally ill-based. What we're actually doing is we're introducing people to the opportunity to create their own monetary networks, to be part of their own sovereign monies. And we're just putting out the operating system for nothing. However, since people don't know quite what to do with such an opportunity, I mean, it takes a little learning. It's like the first time you go skiing, you're not going to be running the Olympics or something. So there's a learning process. We're at the early stages. Early stages of learning is show how to raise money for community projects by the initial introduction of a community support cycle. Businesses donating, charities receiving, general public converting, businesses seeing business. Simple cycle, shows the show. it's an education for the businesses in the use of community money. So in addition to the donation to the business to the charities, we require the businesses to make a fee payment to the administrative group, which would be you and your team.
In conventional money or in the
No,
okay.
no, you don't need.
Right. Okay. Just double checking.
You love your money. Of course, we believe in community money. As soon as I was,
so you guys get paid in community money.
The Open Money Development Group realizes $100 community dollars per employee from a business that joins as an underwriter. So if a business joins our group and says, I'm in, we say, you're doing the donation, they say, yeah, 1,000 per, to there, and 100 per employee to the Open Money Development Group, Community Way dollars. Now, the Open Money Development Group is a loose collective. We're not incorporated. We're not a non-profit. We're just a bunch of people who share the tasks and the costs and recover it from that pot. It's that simple. And that would be the way we would recommend you run a Cortes development, is that you do something like a community way, something that is good for the community, a simple demonstration. And you levy on the underwriters, the businesses who are into it, a minor fee in the very money that you're teaching them to use. It's an educational.
Yeah, so they don't really lose anything at all.
Not at all, and it's all a tax deduction. So, in fact, one part of the ledger, they come up. I mean, it's
a tax deduction? How is it a tax deduction?
Oh, a business expense.
Community money.
Oh, community money is taxable, every penny.
It is taxable, but even if it's unpegged to the...
It is pegged.
Oh, man, that's a whole other issue.
It is a very important issue, a very core one. I mean, you can float your funny money, call it the Cortes doubloon or something like that, and decide that it will be valued at whatever, but that will really confuse the world and yourselves and everybody around you, and it won't change the tax position either. It will just allow Canada Revenue Agency to come in and tell you what the exchange rate is and impose those taxation consequences upon the trading firm. So let's start with this. This is money. It's a dollar because we know what size a dollar is. It's not pegged to the Canadian dollar in backing. It's measured in the same way as the Canadian dollar is measured, and it supports tax in, tax out. So if I earn it, I'm due tax. If I spend it as a business, I may be able to deduct on the form of the spending. And that applies to the donations, it applies to advertising expenses, it applies to training expenses, it applies to staff bonuses, it applies to product purchasing, it applies to everything. Money is money. And by measuring dollar for dollar, it makes life an awful lot easier for pricing, costs, accounting, taxation, life. Let's go easy. Dollars.
How many hours a week is the development group, Open Money Development Group, spending on this project now? Yeah.
This last month, I'd say about 3 or 4 hours
per week, or
no, for the month. June was a slow month, and I would say that in terms of serious development work, we probably ran it. Well, I'm being unfair. Probably let's say 8 hours between the 5 or 6 hours. I've done most of that. That's mainly data processing.
Okay, so
we're
that's not very much.
It's not, but and we're not doing much at the moment. We created about a $13,000 income from the initial startup. We raised $130,000. We realized $13,000 in income, Community Way. We've used most of that, but we've covered the costs. We've paid for this, paid for the paper, paid for the printing, paid for the website, paid for this, and it's all paid.
So it's really it's volunteer work.
No. It's not volunteer work. I get paid for every hour I do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like I'm not working full time on this community at this time. The status in the Comox Valley is quite quiet, and I'm just germinating seeds and waiting for them to come to surface. When the seeds come to surface and there's more action and there's more income from new businesses joining, and we've had a pretty slow business intake for the last few months. We're not pushing it. We're not pulling it. We're just waiting it out for the time being. So there's little income. We've got no reason to do any significant work, but the system just continues to run on its own. But if we have to get out there and do some more promotion, advertising expenses, maybe print some more money that we don't need, but lots of things like that, then we might run through maybe 20 hours in a week.
Well, I guess it's a much bigger project the bigger the population, eh? Because we only have 1,000 people here. I can't imagine. There won't always be more businesses to engage.
No. I think what you will do is you will find out the thing is fully developed inside 3 months.
Hold on one sec.
You've got it. Yeah, in a small community, 1,000 people. Well, maybe 50 businesses, maybe 100 if you count the part-timers and half-timers. It's not that the Community Way model is designed as a long-term financial project. It's a short-term initiative that realizes enough revenue to support a few months of solid work by a few people. That's about it. It could be part-timers spread over several months. It could be part-time. It could be a limited deployment of time, say 20 hours a week, 2 or 3 people over 6 months. But there will be revenues from this approach that can be realized from within the project itself, not by going to a grant agency, not by asking for a local government donation, not by begging for the local rich guy to underwrite or whatever. This is basically find the money from yourselves, in yourselves, through yourselves, lift yourself by your own bootstraps. So, self-managing project, self-paying. Well, I think you're back, Eleanor?
I am back.
Well, I just wrapped another little riff about it can all be done, and it can be done quite easily. Just got to get organized. And I think that the prime suggestion I'd make to you in tonight's meeting is, by all means, address the details of how, which, what, or whatever, but also contain the big picture that this is about opening the commons of people using the money that they create. It's their community money. And the commons is sort of like taking out an internet account. Once you've got an internet account, you can go to the web, you can go to email, you can do chat, you can do phones, you can do videos, you can do whatever. Well, same sort of thing. We ought to open our money accounts in our community money. So it's sort of like sign up here, get a name. And yes, one of the first things to do is something like a Community Way, something that's a business-based community support. Draw in the circle of consumer activity in your own community and consolidate that form. That's a great way to go, but it's only one of dozens of things that are going to be appropriate. And if we can back away from just the detail of one to include the breadth of the whole show, it makes everything a lot easier. Everything gets easier when you can see many things rather than just one.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's about half an hour we got on tape there, I think. I haven't checked.
So that's all the questions, eh?
That's the 4 you asked. Do you have any more?
More come to mind, at least one. It's possible there's a currency exchange, a community currency exchange I saw online, for currencies around the world to exchange with one another.
Oh, the Main Street Cash Bunch. Is that the one you meant?
No, I don't think so, but I know I saw that site yesterday.
Yeah, that's archaic. It's out of time, out of space, wrong, useless. It's about the old model of money as stuff. My stuff is better than your stuff. Your stuff is silver, mine is gold, or something. Mine is based upon oil, or yours is based upon that. And those are from what I call the asset retention money. Those are the people who think the money is something you must have, hold, control. But the money is the stuff. They've lost themselves into the idea that something else is more important, and that controls them. It's pretty primal. Unfortunately, it's the way we've been running money for thousands of years, and so people could be forgiven for falling into that trap. But it's why everybody wants gold, everybody argues about how strong is this against that. Can I sell my air miles for Tesco points, or do they have to go to Petro-Canada or whatever? Those forms of exchanges are flat earth, old model, expensive, high cost, tedious, full of fraud, irrelevant.
Okay, so it's sort of the same thing of having being pegged to the dollar, or maybe you have to be pegged to the dollar to be involved in that.
Let's be careful with the pegging. It's really clear the difference between pegging value as measure or pegging value as underwritten by. And that's the problem with as soon as you start talking about exchange rates and my money is valuable because or whatever, you've got a hell of a problem with maintaining exchange rates. This is what is wrong in the international trading markets, is that every country is desperate to keep the market up. So the run on the pound, everybody falls over in the streets, And it's crazy, and it's all about fear and risk and alienation and control. And none of it is real. The real stuff is trees growing, is energy converted, is networks built, is children educated, is health, is life. It includes productivity, manufacturing and shipping and all that. But we can do so much with a money that is based upon our relationship to each other and is based upon us, whereas the old style stuff, which we'll have forever, I'm not worried about that, but the old style stuff is money that says, I'm valuable, I'm important, the people are trivial or irrelevant, they're just users, the money is valuable. It's the old stuff.
It sounded before from Peter that he was interested, that he'd be really interested to see Community Way money used here, because then he could use some of his money here and there could be some kind of exchange with Comox and Cortes. I don't know if maybe I misinterpreted him, but I wonder how could that happen then if our currencies are exchangeable?
Well, the currencies are exchangeable because Peter could come to Cortes and say, Eleanor, I'd like 500 Cortes. Will you take 500 Comox Valley? And you might say, sure, right, let's do that. Bang, bang.
Oh, okay, I see.
So it's exchangeable like that. And it's possible to use these network exchanges that you described for that sort of thing. But it's sort of irrelevant because there'll be community currencies for the northern Vancouver Island. There'll be a Vancouver Island currency.
It'll be smaller scale than worldwide. It'll be regional exchanges of currencies.
Absolutely, nested, but not exchanges. There'll be more currencies. It's like there'll be a Vancouver Island dollar, and Peter will be able to spend the Vancouver Island dollar on Cortes, because Cortes is in its own way part of Vancouver Island. You'll have a desolation selling.
Okay. If they're all equivalent with the dollar, measurement-wise, then it doesn't make a difference, really.
That's right. They buy, but they buy in different worlds and communities, but they buy at the same level. Question is, do I want to be in this community or not? If I do, then I'll use its money. That's fine. And the issue of convertibility won't matter because it'll be just as easy to use the regional currency as my local, as your local. That's the way it'll be. Seamless. And all these currency exchange models are about the anomalies and impracticalities of the old model. They're asset retainers. Sad. Sorry, I was ranting there. You got me going on one of my pet peeves. You've got to be careful about that.
I just read an article last night, an interview with the fellow who started the Szymanus dollar.
Oh,
they're getting a lot of press, eh?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
It's brilliant paperwork. It's lovely PR. It's great art.
And coastal community credit unions like a major sponsor. And
it's totally useless. That money is nothing.
Well, I didn't, it was a really long interview, and I didn't see anywhere in there where it says that it's like actually helping this or that in the community. It's just people are proud to use the Szymanus dollar, but I didn't actually.
Yeah, it's nothing.
And lots of fundraising to make the money.
Yeah, it's expensive. They have no revenue model. They have to basically set it up to the businesses to say, look, please take this money. It's pretty, it's lovely. And the businesses do because it is pretty, it's lovely. And they can go straight to the bank and turn it into cash. So they do. So it's just, it's a little piece of paper chase that a tourist comes in, buys a Jimenez dollar, goes to the pub, spends a Jimenez dollar, the pub puts it, the bank gets the cash. Nothing has changed at all except the tourism veneer. Now, tourism and veneers are so beloved by our chambers of commerce, our institutional sponsors, the credit union. You know, we love this. We're so pleased to see the credit union getting so deeply in bed with this project, because it sets up the proposition that they actually get embedded with something that's real, that does make a difference, and they transfer from the elegant paperwork of the Jimenez model to the intelligent fiscal process of business underwritten money. Same paper. They don't have to change a thing. They've done all the expensive and clever stuff. Now they've got to do the smart stuff and shift to something like Community Way. But until they do, all they're doing, I say that it's a bit like ice cubes in a leaky bucket. If you've got a bucket that's leaking and the water's pouring out, you can throw ice cubes in and they won't come out. They just stay in forever. But they don't stop water from coming out, and you've still got to keep topping up the barrel just the same way as you ever did. This stuff is like ice cubes, and it's the main form of useless money that's currently percolating across the alternate complementary currency community, both of which are derogatory.
I'm not seeing much arguments against it, though.
Oh no. There's a huge amount of emperor's clothes stuff going on at the moment. Everybody is wandering around saying, "Oh, hallelujah! Back the money with cash. Our dollar is secure. You can trust our dollar. Therefore, look how well it works." Well, it does. It works easily if you back it with cash. Nobody has any doubt about it. It's just another piece of paper. So everybody uses it, and it makes no difference to anything. But the sort of the band people, the followers of the church, if you like, they love it because it's secure and it fulfills the sort of motherhood and apple pie requirements. So there's a site called Main Street Cash, for instance, that you reminded me of. I've been there many times because it shows up all over the place. mainstreetcash.org. And it's loaded with currency references, and hardly any of them are of any use whatsoever. But their clumpingness together, their sort of accumulation, is giving this facade of reality to something which is utterly, utterly empty. Complementary currencies.
Yeah, that's where I read the article, mainstreetcash.org. Yeah. Community Way is on there as well, has a link.
Yep.
I mean,
like I said, not everything is total nonsense, you know.
But have you ever written on this topic?
Yes.
Or
I've written on it, spoken on it, and I record on it, and I do it persistently. And I'm currently engaged with a group called the Grassroots Initiative on Complementary Currencies, the International Journal of Community Currencies Research. That's a university-based geography and sociology research group in England, on precisely this issue, that it's imperative that if people are messing around with currencies, that they should have good terminology, good analysis, and be clear when they're actually doing something, or whether they're just doing what we call a cargo cult, a facade that does nothing except attract popular attention. And most of the so-called movement for, and I'd say, alternate and complementary currencies are totally on board with backing money with money and thinking that they're doing something, and they're totally deceived. But that's not unusual in our world, is it, that people are totally deceived?
Wow. Okay. Well, that was great. Thanks for answering those questions. I feel more confident for my meeting this evening.
Well, I'm glad you asked them. It gave me an opportunity to. I hope my taping worked. I don't know for sure. I'll find out in a few minutes when it winds up, and I can check it. But if I did, then there's some good stuff in there. There's a lot of messy, choppy stuff, but I'll... But we get better as we get on. So, thanks very much, Eleanor. I'd love to hear how your meeting goes. When you get around to it, give me a buzz, give me a call, give me an email. Okay?
Okay, will do. Thanks a lot. You have a good day.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that was a pretty impromptu conversation with the people on Cortes Island regarding the imminent process of putting together community currencies there. And I'm now about to close this line and wind it up. So thank you very much. This call is, actually I think it's gone.